Okay, welcome to Essential Money Talks. And today I have a special happy spender, Barbara Clifford. And so welcome, Barbara.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Barbara, I want you to start telling us, I always like to start with your earliest memory of money and how that helped shape the way you viewed money or your money mindset as you led into an adult.
Oh, wow. I think, gosh, my early memories of money, I guess, was my pocket money. So obviously, I think most kids will have done chores and in return got income for that. And then I had an allowance when I was a teenager. And my mum recently reminded me of a situation where I blew my allowance within a day of getting it and then had no money left. And she said, and I asked her for more, and she said, no, you've got your allowance. That's it. It's meant to last you a week. If you've blown it, that's your fault. And I can actually remember the day that I did it because I went to the markets and got these really cool Michael Jackson earrings, you know, the glove. And I went to the market. I can remember that was one of the really cool things that I bought. And I was like, yeah, I've got some money. I'm going to go and blow it. Went to this market and bought jewelry and all sorts of things. So that's probably my earliest memory. And then when I actually left home when I was 17, and my mum again said, if you are going to leave home, and I went across the other side of the country, and she said, I will be your parachute, but I'm not going to support you. You need to get a job and you need to be responsible for paying rent and paying bills if this is what you're going to do. Obviously, living at home, there's lots of benefits and security with doing that. But if you're going to leave home and live on your own, then you've got to have the responsibility that goes with that. And that was really, really hard. And mum kind of had to coach me on how to do that. And it was back then, you didn't have the technology you have now that makes it so much easier. And I had to have a ledger of where was I spending my money, having these columns of how was I actually spending my money, and if the money, like traditional bookkeeping, money going in, where is it going to be allocated, much like what Spending Planner does, and where was I actually spending that money. And so I was hand at hand keeping a ledger when I was about 17 or 18 to try, because I had so little money at such a young age, how can I make this money work for me and still afford to live?
Yeah. Oh, and it sounds like you had a wonderful mother, a wonderful example. Unfortunately, not everyone has that, who will teach their children those money truths, and that you need to plan your spending, save for it, and then spend it, and try not to spend more than you make. And so I can see how that would have helped you learn at a very young age that money truth.
I think too also is that my mum and dad divorced when I was 12, and back then it was that was in the 80s, and back then it was harder for women to have financial independence, even to open their own bank accounts or have checkbooks or things like that. There was no child support back then. So for my mum being a woman and trying to earn an income to support me, fortunately I was the only child that I don't have any siblings. It was tough sometimes for her. So money didn't grow on trees. It didn't. We did have to conserve where we spent money. She did a lot to get and enable me to go to a boarding school. However, all my friends back then looked through the Dolly magazine, look at all the designer labels, and they would love showing off all the designer label things, and I couldn't get those things because we just didn't have enough money. But what I loved doing, mum was an amazing sewer, so I'd look through the magazines and go, can you make me that? Can you make me something that looks like that? And my favorite movie was 16 Candles with Molly Ringwald, who had no money but had to repurpose a dress to wear to her school ball. And I could totally relate to that character, having to try and fit in with the rich preppy kids with no resource. So I think living like that also made me realize that it just doesn't come easy, that you have to make some sacrifices of things that you want sometimes in order to get the things that are really important.
Yes, yeah, that is so true. And so take us forward to prior to finding out about the spending plan. What was your financial story? So from when you just spoke about and to just before you started the spending plan, what happened in those years?
I got very good with Excel and creating really complex budgets.
Yeah.
Trying to then, and what I hated about a budget and what you've taught me about the difference between a budget and a plan, and really it's like spiritual enlightenment, understanding the difference between those two. The frustration with a budget is the going, well, I've done a budget that says if I put aside this much money, then I should have this. Or if I'm only spending this much money each week on this, why have I run out? Why haven't I got enough? And so then what I started doing, which I know is really common, and I've learned up to do something different now, was that I was paying so that I made sure I covered my bases every time the income came in, that I would pay, just put some on the Telstra bill, put some on the power bill, put some on the water bill, whatever, but then they'd be in credit. And, you know, like I would find that I was in credit with those and the other one, I needed to have an extra $200 because I'd burnt more power that winter, but there was $200 credit on Telstra and I couldn't take it from that one and put it over there. So it was stressful. It was the stress of constantly looking at that, and having transitioned into this plan has taken the arguments away from me and my spouse when we're going, well, we've got to find this money from somewhere. Where does all the money go? Like, where's it going?
Yeah. Yeah, and you explain that so beautifully about that kind of paying early to your service providers, which is so common, and most people who I work with, that's what they do. But we quickly transition you from paying right on time. We don't want to pay early. We don't want to pay late. We want to pay right on time, because by giving your money away early means you can't borrow or utilize your own money. And that, you know, if you have another bill that needs paying now, but you don't have the funds, but you'll have the funds in a few weeks, but the bill's due, you can kind of rob Peter to pay Paul, but you are both Peter and Paul in your bill account.
And it's certainly, that's what I found, is that there's been situations where the bills account has got heaps of money in it, and sometimes I can actually see that we're ahead. So I'm able to say and where things are planned out. So I'm able to say with confidence, well, you know what, we can actually pay out that thing sooner rather than later that we wanted to pay for, because I know that the way that it's planned out, it will be fine for that to happen. The other thing that I find really interesting is, for example, when the gas bottle is going to run out. So I've started I know, because it's coming up in the spending planner, like I can say to the household, we're going to run out of gas soon. Now, how do you know? Because I know it's due to be paid for and just like clockwork, it's like, oh, we've run out of gas. It's like, yep, knew it was coming.
so you're the money whisperer, sounds like.
Yeah, it's those kind of things. And more now, the things that we've been using the fire extinguisher for, I'm going, we need to plan for that. You know, we know this is going to occur annually as an expense. So this is something that and it's not something that we're replacing, it's actually a cost. So to give you an example, here we have really extreme climates where I live. So it can get up to 42 degrees in summer and -2 in winter.
Okay, so, can you tell us where you're from?
So I live in Alice Springs in the middle of Australia. So I live in the desert. And I know without fail that at some point in the summertime, the pads and the air conditioning need to be replaced. They only last a year. If I want the air conditioner to run well, it's what's called a swampy. And so for it to run really well and efficiently and to keep the air conditioner running well, we need to get those pads replaced. So now I plan to have them replaced at the very beginning of summer, because what happens is most people go, oh no, they need to be right when it's their air conditioner is not working. So I'm going to plan to just get it done at the very beginning of summer before everybody else. So that I already know that I need to do that. And I've planned to do that. And the same, I've just bought a big load of firewood. The first time it got really cold here, it's like winter's here, like Game of Thrones. Winter is coming. Yeah. And we had our first big, it's got a little bit warmer, but a really big dip in temperature. And I thought, I've got to get firewood soon because it's going to be in demand. A big load, and it costs $370 for a big load of firewood, and we may need to get another one before winter is out, depending on how much we use. And I said to my husband, I need to put this in the spending planner that every winter it's 2 loads of firewood at $370 a pop, because we've used the fire extinguisher to pay for it because we didn't plan for it. But I know that I'm going to get a load of firewood every year. Yeah, so it's those things that keep coming up that are going, oh, I know that I've got to do that. I've got to find the money somewhere, rather than panicking down the track and resting on my fire extinguisher. I need to go, this is coming. And it's more and more things like that, birthday presents and all of those things. I go, well, it's coming. Let's laugh. We know it's coming.
That's right. And I think that's the biggest thing with the spending plan is you're getting your head out of the sand. Now, you spend your money every year. We all spend the money that comes in, but it's usually not planned spending. A lot of that spending with a budget is you're spending and hoping it's okay, or you forgot something and you're scrambling and robbing whoever, Peter to pay Paul, to do that. Where with the spending plan, we're really thinking, and when Barbara entered in all her expenses, I have this long worksheet which kind of goes over the 6 types of ways we spend our money, and it's quite inclusive. But of course, it doesn't include everything. And so it usually does take 12 months. And you've been doing the plan for how long now?
I don't know. I'd say it's about, I don't know. I reckon it's about
6 to 7 months.
Yeah.
I think you did the October, November course of 2021. And so, you're finding things that you didn't think about when you started, but all of our bills and expenses generally happen within 12 months. So you'll find that at the end of 12 months, you would have lived through a whole cycle of spending, and you'll know where it is. And just like you said, the wood and all those things that you might, and I definitely didn't have wood on my expense worksheet for you to fill in. And another interesting thing that you said was in regards to your bills, that you can go in and see if there's extra. Now, generally in your bills account, we start the year with a certain amount and we end. We have just the right amount in your bills account. We don't keep extra money in there. But if you get an extra bonus at work, or if bills come in less than you planned, then there is going to be some extra money in there. And it's so great to be able to go in, immediately see how much is extra, as well as how much you need to keep there, because that's there to pay all your automated bills. And it really gives you that.
And there are things that do end up surprising you, that the expenses. And so for me, knowing that I'm ahead with the bills account meant that I guess there's a bit of wiggle room. But for example, with the chiropractor, I was seeing a regular chiropractor each month, and it was very easy for me within the bills plan to go, yep, I know exactly each month. We generally go once a month and it's the same amount. Now I've changed chiropractor, and because I've changed chiropractor, suddenly the initial consult, they're having to start again, and it's a lot more expensive, that consult. And also the other thing I now have to take into consideration is that I have to pay up front with this chiropractor and then get a rebate. So
Mhm.
I'm going to need to make sure, I've got to put that into the plan now to go make sure that there's enough there for when that first expense comes out, but then allow for that rebate to come back in as well. But the
Yes.
timing is going to be, it takes about a week for the rebate to come back. So I've got to
Yes.
allow for that in the plan. Yeah.
Yeah. And depending, I mean, for me, my lowest balance in my bills account is $100, but I've been doing it for 19 years. Mine goes like clockwork. It's been tweaked. And for many people, they can do 100. But generally for the first year, I say you need it maybe closer to the 500 mark.
Yeah,
because you don't know, you will have forgotten to put things in there.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But once you get through that first year, then you'll find that it will be so much more fine-tuned.
I hate my fire extinguisher going below $1,000. Like I know that once, and I know that for me, my goal is to get it up to 2,000 and then I can start topping up other accounts. But as you, 5 would come out of that, you know.
Well, that's it. That's it. And she's talking about, she calls it the fire extinguisher account. I refer to it as
the big bad wolf. Yeah.
The big bad wolf, which it's to protect you against him coming. And, you know, so that you, because we plan the 6 types of expenses are planned expenses and unplanned expenses. And they're the ones that really get people into trouble because they kind of put their head in the sand and don't, yet we know the big bad wolf is going to come visit our home quite a few times. It may do a few times this year. And so just knowing you have money put aside for that, when those things happen, and those things might be, you know, I have a client who, she goes to a lot of funerals. And so she actually has that in her plan. She has travel to, because sometimes they're interstate, flowers and things like that, where it's a sad time because she's going to a funeral. If she then had to think, where am I going to get the money? I want to buy something, I want to go, but I'm going to have to steal from my, or whatever, then that just adds to whatever that emergency is. And so by having money in a big bad wolf for whatever happens, at least money is not going to be something you have to worry about.
Yeah, that's it. And I think too, like the replacements account is another one that really put things into perspective and going, I can't have this as a fantasy of one day I'll do this thing. Is actually, well, how long can it take me to get to that point where I can pay for it? Because if I'm getting a loan, then it's twice as long and twice as much in essence, really, to pay for that thing. So it's been a really interesting conversation once again with the spouse to go, well, these are the things that we will need to replace, because he'll see all that money in the account, the replacements account. And I'll say, yeah, but we're going to need to replace the fridge one day. We're going to need to replace our passports, the batteries in your car, the tires. And yet when those things have come up that need to be replaced, because sometimes you can plan for those, but sometimes they're not. Like you might say the fridge we're going to replace in 10 years, but hey, it was 7. So to have that money there as well for those things that were going to be replaced, like he said to me, oh, going to need to get it from the fire extinguisher. I said, no, actually, that comes from the replacements account. We've planned for that. So it's okay for us to take it from them.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite accounts too, is that long-term. It's things that you have to replace within 10 years, you know, because a lot of things we have to replace, you know, and that includes your driver's license, which a lot of people don't even think about. But that right there is a couple $100 to get your license. And if you didn't plan for it, that's a couple $100 you're going to have to find somewhere else. And so, yeah, having that long-term thinking, which is what the spending plan is. Yeah. Budgets tend to be, okay, monthly budget, or sometimes paycheck to paycheck. And this where with the spending plan, we're looking long-term, 10 years, even it goes to 30 years if you have loans, to show you what actual date you can have it paid off, as well as if you put a little bit more, how much more quicker you can have it paid off.
Yeah, that's it. And things like the Smile account in terms of the saving for those holidays and those things
Yes.
and that's a big one for us because we live so remotely. There's an expectation by family that we will come to visit them. And
Yes.
so and it's a lot of money, and it's a lot at that. There's not only the travel at Christmas time, it's the Christmas presents, it's the spending money. So there's the airfares, but then there's all the spending money as well. It's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And so to be able to say to my husband, well, we should be at this budget point right now, but we're not. So if we want to have that much money at that point in time, we've got to do something where we're tracking below in the plan. You know, here's the plan, and we're below at this point of where we should be. So that helps as well to be realistic about what's achievable within the time that you have.
Yeah. And I know I'm currently, I have a trip plan back to the States after 2.5 years of lockdown. And yeah, it's not cheap. And see, that's international. It's sometimes even a little bit cheaper than domestic for some flights. But yeah, it costs a lot of money to travel, but we do it. But we do have to have a plan for it, because we don't want to get into debt to do those things. We want January to come, or when you get back from that trip, actually have some leftover money from your trip that you didn't spend. Because for me, I always over budget for big bad wolf expenses and things that go wrong, which they tend to always go wrong, you know, and so you need to plan for those. But makes it all, you're not stressing about money when you're on that trip.
I think the other thing that's really valuable with those things that are the way down the track is to be able to make decisions earlier. So, for example, if I know that we're not going to have enough money to do that travel at the end of the year, I mean, we're in May now. If I know, we can start to make choices around that. Well, do we reduce the spending money? We can do those choices now, knowing that we're not going to make it. You know, it's like rationing your water supply through the desert. And so that's far less stressful, being able to make decisions now rather than at the end of the year suddenly having to make a decision, we can't afford this, we can't do it.
Because you can see, you're seeing the crystal ball in the future. So you can see that you're short. And I know my oldest son's, he's traveling with me. And after he, paid for his ticket, usually about maybe once a week, I'll go and get a Subway salad. And anyway, I knocked on his door because he works from home too. And I said, oh, would you like something? Because he usually gets a foot long. He said, no, Mom, I'm saving for my trip. And I thought, good on you. And there was a part of me that wanted to go and buy him one anyway. But I thought, no, I need to, as a parent, let him experience that sacrifice for something that's really going to be really fun and bring lots of memories. Because we can easily spend money on stuff and never get those memories. And so, that is so important to decide. And I actually had a post on my page today, and it's a 1980s rap song, and I don't like rap, but it has a really good message. It's, do you want this or do you want that? Do you want this or do you want that? And it's quite annoying, but it's so annoying that when you're out shopping, there's this, which is the here and now. Am I going to buy this? But as a result of that, I'm going to postpone or even eliminate my that. My that is my real why. The reason why I want to be good with my money. It's that trip. It's that getting a home deposit, whatever your why is, it kind of makes you think. Now, of course, this rap song was about, do you want this lifestyle, which is the drug and alcohol lifestyle, or do you want a clean lifestyle? But for me, hey, it works with money too.
Well, drug and alcohol cost a lot of money as well, see, so there is a correlation there.
Yes, and I've had many people who create a spending plan, and they see how much their addiction's costing them, and it's like, oh, they never realized how much and what they could do with that money long term, because they could take that money and project it in the spending plan, and they could go on a really nice holiday in a year. And so, yeah, it really does help you see the future, as opposed to a budget which focuses heavily on the past, but it's gone. Your money's gone, and it only shows you it's possible.
And I think what's really interesting, what the habit that I've had to get used to, Sherri, in terms of having the plan is with a budget, typically, like you said, it's in the past, and you look back at where things went wrong. You go, okay, where did I overspend? Where did I track? But with the plan, it's all, as you said, it's always looking forward. So I'm trusting the plan, and as long as I've got everything covered, then it should go to, and it has, and it's really comforting to know everything's going to plan. Everything's going. So
that's right.
Whereas a budget is that you operate blindly. It's basically you put a blindfold on and you go, if I head in this direction, I should hit there. You know, I put the blindfold on, and if I head off in this way, I should hit the target. Whereas the plan is actually going, well, here's the milestones you have to hit along the way. So are you on course right now?
Exactly. Yeah. And these are the balances in the future. You see your next 12 months of balances in all your accounts. So you can see in 6 months ahead, but when that bill comes out that you usually stress over, like the, big insurance bill or the registration that you're usually robbing Peter to pay Paul with the budget to do that, you can see the money's going to be there.
Yes.
And because you're saving for every bill, every expense for 52 weeks out of the year.
I do have to say that it was very difficult for me to explain to my husband where we were tracking. Sometimes if there was thousands of dollars in the bills account, he'd go, we're fine. And go, but I'd have to say no, because the power bill and the water bill come in each at the same time, and that alone will be $1,000. Then there's 2 vehicle registrations that'll be a week after that. They're each worth $500. So yeah, there's a couple of $1,000s in the bills account, but it's all spent already. It's coming. It's just I'm waiting for those things to land, and then it'll hit us.
Yeah. So I mean, generally with the budget, you get the bill in the mail, and it's like, oh, where am I going to find the mail or the money? We're in a spending plan. The plan will tell you, oh, you have a bill coming because here's the money ready for it.
Yes, exactly.
It's totally, you're totally in control, and your money is telling you that a bill is coming up because they're waiting to pay it.
Yeah, because like the gas bottle.
Yeah,
right. That
exactly.
I knew exactly when the gas bottle was going to hit, because it was the cycle was pretty accurate in terms of when it runs out. Yeah.
And same with birthdays, anniversaries. There is no excuse now for husbands and partners to forget our anniversary, because if you put it a week or 2 before your anniversary, the money you're going to spend, it reminds you. And I know there's been times when I've forgotten that it's my anniversary coming up, but my spending plan reminds me, because I put in money that I want to spend. We're going to go out to a nice dinner on our anniversary or our birthday or whatever that special event is.
Well, the other thing that we were able to do is, which we had to kind of rush plan, but my son turning 18, when my son turned 18, we wanted to give him $1,000 for his 18th birthday. And so again, I put that into the plan, even though it was a one-off thing as an expense, but it meant that I could then track, I could see, well, what do we need to do to keep us on track in order to meet that target? And my husband was saying, oh, don't worry, we can let him know that it's coming. And I said, actually, we'll be okay to do it, provided we do this, and this.
Yeah, that we follow your plan.
Yeah, and it's the same. And then I was able to go, well, my other son will be 18 in 2 years. I can plan that now.
Yeah, that's going to be exactly. And that would be in your long-term replacement. And so just for those who aren't familiar with the difference between a budget and a spending plan. So a budget is 2-dimensional, has income and expenses. And so it tells you it's possible to pay your bills. And Barbara, you did that greatly about being blindfolded. You should be able to. Good luck. And so even if we do have a budget, there's still anxiety and stress that people carry because it's not guaranteed. It doesn't show you how to pay your bills. That is what a spending plan does. The spending plan, yes, has income and expenses, but we focus more on expenses because that's the problem. It's not necessarily this we can't control as much, our expenses we can, but it adds in that vital missing dimension of timing or cash flow. The timing of your incomes, the timing of your expenses, the frequency, and when the next one's due. And when you put that initial information into the spending plan, which you only do once, I did it 19 years ago. She did it, Robert did it 6 months ago. Yes, she's tweaked it, but you put it in and it will calculate your next 12 months and show you how to pay your bills. It will show your bank balance, your ideal bank for every day of the year coming up, so that you can know for a surety that when that big bill comes out, money is going to be there because you see the bank account or the bank balance in the future. And so then you can automate all your bills. And to me, my finances are a total silent partner. They just happen in the background. I do my spending plan. I know that money's there. It takes minutes. For me, I do it monthly because we get paid monthly, and it only takes 10, 15 minutes a month to do my finances because I've initially decided how I want to spend my money. I consciously have planned how I want to spend my money, how I need to spend my money, how I want to spend my money, and how I really, really want to spend my money. And so it just puts the power totally back on me. I have total control and total clarity because of that vital third dimension that a budget doesn't have.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I've found really rewarding through the process is planning for things that you know that are regular. Like, for example, I have a gym membership, which I know will happen all the time, but my friend of mine is a gym instructor, and I will once a week go and pay for a casual visit at her gym. So I don't want an extra gym membership. I just want a casual visit, and that will cost me around $15 to $20 each week. And so I'm allowing for that in the plan, for that to happen as a reoccurring thing. But sometimes I don't go. Sometimes, and it's the same with my son with singing lessons. Sometimes he doesn't go. So it's actually a little plus or a bonus where you go, oh, there's $20 I've saved that week. There's $15 and it's staying in the bills account. That's where for me it creates a little, that's examples of where there's wiggle room, where I go, well, there's actually, I've allowed for it in my bills account, but I'm actually ahead. So that when things pop up like the chiropractor or whatever, I go, well, it's not, I can cope with that. You know? Not that that happens a lot, but for those things.
Exactly. And you had mentioned earlier, the SMILE account, the extinguisher account. So that's from the Barefoot Investors for those.
So sorry.
That's right. No, that's fine, because my US clients, because I read that book and it's great. I just take it a bit further.
It's the practical application of it, Sherry, because we read that book and we tried to apply it, but it doesn't show you, it shows you what the framework or the philosophy of what you need to do. The accounts are very similar, the principles are very similar, but then it's not the day-to-day operational management of it. And I had heard about this spending planner program from somebody else, but it didn't really register. And I think being able to read the Barefoot Investor and then seeing an application, a practical application of that philosophy was what made the difference. So for us, we'd already had the accounts set up, but we weren't really using them properly. We weren't really, because we couldn't see, we weren't planning, or we weren't saying, okay, this is the plan, but are we following the plan? We were just operating to a budget.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the first things that I teach. That's one of the first modules in my online course is bank account structure, how to get your bank account structure to protect your money from you, because we're our worst thief No one else generally is going to come steal our money. We are going to be the one who's going to steal our money. And so if we protect our money from us and touch our money as least as possible, that's why we automate everything, then you'll just see your savings increase and your debts below. I want to finish off because this week on social media, I'm talking a lot about debt. And so did you have debts when you first started? And did you?
We had very minimal. Yeah, we had minimal debt, but having the spending plan helped us to get through that, and I think prevent us so far. Touch wood, I've managed to convince my husband that we do not need to go into debt, that we have a plan that will take us there if we stick to the plan. So and I think it was, as I've mentioned to you, the realization with my husband where he'd say we'd put $200 on the credit card and then there'd only be 150 would be taken out in the interest. And you go, but there's 200. I said, that's how, that it's the interest. It's huge on that credit card. And if he was doing cash advances, they were the worst. You know, in terms of the charges. So he started to understand that process. So debt wasn't a big thing for us, but we were able to get to being debt free very quickly. We don't have a mortgage, but we also don't have a lot of asset. And so now doing the spending plan, my husband's actually said, could we save now to invest? Can we start putting that money aside to be able to do things where we can see the money grow, like in stocks or other ways of allowing our money to grow? Yeah.
And that's the thing is what I see a lot of, especially the young millennials and things, they're all really into investing, but they've missed the first foundational step, which is having a spending plan. They need to get everything, all their 6 expenses taken care of first, then with their excess money or whatever, then go in to invest. But if you do it the other way around, which I've worked with people who have come in and they kind of went into these investing before they had all their basics. And so it's really important to first things first, and then you go on to, that's the foundation, is getting your spending plan and your cash flow, your insurances, getting all that set up first before you go on to start, whether you're investing in property to provide another person a house. You need to make sure that your home, there's a favorite saying of mine is, there's no success that can compensate for failure in the home. So if we have a great investment portfolio, yet we're struggling to pay our own family's bills, then you have failed. You have failed your family. And so we have to think about our family first. Then when we're comfortable, and the spending plan will show you it's time, you have money now to go to that next.
That's and to that same kind of theme is the account that we have for Bunnings and Super Cheap Auto.
Yes, exactly. Everyone has their kind of account, which is their kind of where they can kind of lose track of how much they're spending. So you have a special account just for that. Yes, I have a few who have Bunnings accounts.
and again, it's that situation where my husband said he did a road trip and he said, I want to buy these accessories for the car, and where do I get that from? And I said, well, there's $120 sitting in the Bunnings and the Super Cheap bank account. That's what it's there for. Go and spend it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been lovely talking to you, and you've given some great analogies that I will probably use. Just to those who are considering learning more about a budget, they may be Excel whizzes, which I've converted lots of Excel whizzes, or hey, I have the Barefoot Investor, I'm fine with that. What would you say to them?
This is the next level beyond that. So I had really both things, a very sophisticated Excel spreadsheet that I was reviewing all the time. And you said to me, some people are reluctant to let it go, and they eventually do. And occasionally I go back and look at it, but so rarely. And so this is, it's almost like the Tesla car in some ways, is that you can put it on autopilot and trust that it'll get you there, because it's running, everything's running really, really smoothly. So, and having an Excel document or the Barefoot Investor model is still a level of, there's still a level of fear there. There's still a level of unknowing about it and having to trust in the system, whereas having the plan, for me, I can't demonstrate the level of stress that it's reduced for me, because I used to have absolute anxiety around the money, and there's still a level of that for me. I'm still checking my plan all the time, but I have much greater security and confidence. I have confidence around it, and it's not if I set this, I can hope that it'll be okay. There's I know that I will get to that point at that time.
Yes, and you did my 8-week course, group course. So I do one-on-ones, but my 8 weeks is what are my most popular ones now. And I'm sure that you can vouch the benefit of doing a group one, and to feel that there's no shame, there's no embarrassment, and you all become each other's cheerleaders, and you learn from each other.
Well, I learned about the Bunnings Super Cheap bank account from somebody else. It's like, yes, that's what I need. I need to do that as well. So there's definitely that, and hearing other people that have similar situations, so that you can go, well, I've got to look out for that. Or except for the firewood story, for example, somebody else will go, yep, I have firewood, seasonal things like that. So that's where it's really useful, I think. Or you showing, as it always is with group coaching, where you show somebody else something. You didn't know you had that problem. You didn't know you had that question, but you're showing somebody else something, and you go, oh, well, I've been doing that wrong. I thought I had that right.
Exactly.
But just show me that actually no.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is with the 8-week courses, plus you get a couple one-on-ones with me as well. You know, it's not just, here's my course, good luck. It's, here's my course. We're going to walk through the course in these weekly workshops. You can come to them day or night on a Wednesday, and we do it together. And I trust that you felt really supported on that.
Yeah, and I think there's a level of doing that. It change is never comfortable. So it's a way of being supported through that change. So it kind of kept you accountable. You wanted to, while there was no judgment, but it kind of, you went, right, I should be at this point. I've invested in my time for this. I've invested in my money to do this. Then I should make good use of it. And so there's a level of accountability as well, in terms of turning up for that each week. And I think going through, I can be honest in saying that for a lot of the training, some of it for me was, I know this, I can gloss over it, mentally or whatever. There are other things where I really need to, this has taught me something. And so they're in that online course component, there is something for everybody. For example, the debt reduction stuff, that wasn't a major thing for me, but there were other things that were really, really valuable and important. Yeah, exactly.
And I think seeing, like at my one a few months ago, we had someone who had got into around $40,000 debt years ago and had got out of it. And so she was coming in just because she felt kind of tempted. And so she just needed that refresher. And it was so good for the other people who were in debt to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that she did it. So if she did it, I can do it too. And so it's seeing everybody's at different levels and different stages of their journey. But it helps us for you to look back and help someone else or someone in front of you might think that's what I want. And so it really does work really well. Well, thank you so much, Barbara. I really enjoyed talking with you. And we'll just finish with, if you can just think of some words that come to your mind of how you would describe what the spending plan has done for you?
I said them before, but I think it is, what's the opposite of anxiety? It is certainty,
Certainty, peace,
yeah,
clarity.
peace, certainty, clarity, confidence. Yeah, I think that that's definitely what it's done. Yeah.
And unified. It sounds like that your relationship with your partner is more unified, because it's showing you your money truth.
I think it also is fair. Like he feels now, where there was arguments about both of our money going in, that that it feels a little more fair, because we can see the relationship that has to all of those things within the plan.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much. And again, I will, like I said, everyone, continue to choose financial peace. It is a choice. It is not a gift. And it's up to us what we choose. Okay, and we will see everyone next week at Essential Money Talks. And check out my post this week. You'll see things that I'll talk about debt and how a spending plan can help you get out of debt.